Hello. Hello. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we want to welcome you back to the one of the most, well, overrated, underrated, I don't have a really big thing for me to hype me up right now, as one of the best YouTubers on the world, the man, Michael himself, the Club of the Man, 1993. That did not go over too well. Not the best way to hype me up, of course, unfortunately. But I tried. And man, I might have to fix this graphic a little, because Liv Morgan looks much more blown up than Roman does, maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Who knows? It doesn't look too bad. Oh well, who knows? But guys, what is going on? This is the Club of the Man 1993. And we are here live for the first time in nearly a year, as I am repeating myself from my review Tuesday night of Monday Night Raw. But we are here for my live review for the first time in the year of Friday Night Smackdown, which is the Fallout show from SummerSlam 2022. And as I didn't realize it when I was doing my AEW review, because I was looking back and seeing the date and seeing how long it has been since I did a review, which I knew was last year's go-home shows for SummerSlam 2021. But SummerSlam 2022, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. So, of course, conveniently, I'm doing the Fallout show from SummerSlam 2022. So, between SummerSlam 2021 and SummerSlam 2022, I did not review a single episode of Raw or SmackDown. Or NXT, of course. But the last time I did a SmackDown review was at my now fiance's house. And it was the night that CM Punk returned. Oh man, I could not believe that was the last time I did a SmackDown review, which was incredible, because again, I was all burned out by the time of WWE, but of course, you know, there was just like a landscaping change, basically, of course. But yeah, so, of course, with the change in power, with Triple H now running the show, and we're past, you know, the Vince McMahon stories, yes, there may be some small little things lingering, like I thought with a couple little things on this episode of SmackDown. But this week has shown the momentum is shifting. The landscape in WWE has changed. And here's the thing. Overall, as far as the whole show, I personally thought Raw was the better show this week. Because of, again, what I liked about Raw this week, there was 5 different stories that went on Raw. And even if it was just like a filler match, like Seth Rollins and Montez Ford, that was still like planting the seeds for something else. On SmackDown, I wasn't quite as sure. Because, especially like the Gauntlet match was a bunch of women that definitely need rebuilt big time for sure. Of course, one of them easily may have been, you know, fixed, you know, on the right track, of course, Shayna Baszler. The rest of them, I'm like, are any of these women ever going to get a serious push? Is what I'm looking at as. So, up until before the main event segment, I was thinking SmackDown was decent, but it could use a little bit of work. That main event segment, of course, made me give this episode a higher grade. And it was also, despite the fact that I liked Raw better, it was also my favorite segment of the week. I mean, don't be wrong, and there was great matches, especially that opening match, but that was more so of like an exhibition match. It wasn't really an actual like story yet. Some stories, but it was more so of like an exhibition match wrestling show. Which I was just like, okay, not bad, but I think we need a little more, you know, character development as well. But like I said, that closing segment is what, to me, like, that's what I was looking for on Raw. Something like that on Raw. And I was shocked. I popped with who came back. We'll talk about that, though, when we get to it. We still have a lot of other things to talk about, of course, as well. Especially, also, we're going to be talking about the blonde chick to my right over here. as I feel like they may have backed themselves into a corner with Liv. And it may be best. I'll save it whenever I get there. But let's talk about the show. Again, it was live from Greenville, South Carolina. What was also slated too is some people were saying on Twitter it sounded like there was some piped-in noises. Not all of them, but at times there was. So Kevin Bucktooth Dunn is still trying to say, well, my buddy Vinny, weird thing we gotta overdo. These crowd reactions we shouldn't get. But too bad. Because the thing is the crowd reactions we're getting, Triple H is going to take them into account and try to fix them. Not everything's going to be perfect. There may be some things that we disagree with, like some things I'm worried about with right here. But at least we'll truly know where the product stands with organic crowd noises and not piped in sound effects. But it also shows you gotta get Kevin Dunn's ass out of the truck. You gotta get it out there. But before we get started, we have a couple of comments in the live chat from Wrestling News 365, who's been one of my more newer loyal subscribers. So I appreciate you for coming back. It says, I heard today that Vince McMahon got removed from the WWE roster page. There's no longer a part of the roster page. Is that official on the app as well? Because last I keep checking, Karrion Kross has not been moved back over from the alumni section yet either. So let me see here. It's like Dakota Kai and Io Sky are there, but they have just black backgrounds, not red backgrounds. I saw they have not removed Elias, still the black background, but they added in Ezekiel, given his own profile, of course. Let me see here. They still haven't put Karrion Kross back over in the active roster. Let me see here. On the app, he's still there, but on the WWE roster page, he ain't there. But on the app, they gotta update that. What if we get Darby Allin versus Bryan Danielson at All Out? That'd be different. I don't think though they're really gonna come across paths though around then, but that would be an excellent match. Is it true that they had to blank it? I'm not gonna say the name yet. We'll talk about that last comment when we get to it. I want to save that for last and talk about that whole scenario, because that really changed the game. That ending segment, I'm like, okay, you talk about a statement. This was a statement. But before that, we have other things to get into. So let's talk about Smackdown. We have Will Trail Sport Raleigh. If I mispronounced that name, I apologize. Says, hi, I'm from the UK. Nice to meet you. Thank you for joining us live for here. So let's talk about this show, though. The show opened up with a recap of SummerSlam, followed by Pat McAfee giving us these typical what Pat McAfee gave us here was kind of like an ESPN analyst from like football and whatnot, which was different. He gives us a commentary and telestrator doodles over the slow-mo footage of him punning Happy Corbin, which can we call him Baron Corbin again, please? Right where the sun does not shine. And of course, Corbin's watching backstage, not happy, and then Ricochet comes up and mocks him about it before challenging him to a match to kick off the show. Look at that. Instead of getting a promo, we're having a match to kick off the show. Ricochet versus Baron Corbin. If this was Vince, this would have been a quick 5-minute match, boring, bland as hell, with Ricochet watered down, and Ricochet probably would have lost. Nope. We actually had an excellent match with Ricochet pulling out the aerial maneuvers out of his ass. Well, I shouldn't say that because it wasn't his fault. But Triple H taking the cuffs off Ricochet and saying, go out there and do your thing, man. And he did. He was flying all over the place, doing a bunch of aerial moves. Triple H, Ricochet's in great hands. He is somebody else that I really think that Triple H is going to, definitely make him a priority to fix. And he looked excellent. Even Corbin, I thought, looked good. Corbin, of course, the problem with Corbin, again, he can wrestle. Don't forget his match he had with Kalisto at TLC 2016, that excellent chairs match. He can wrestle. We got to give him a character, though. Like I said, I was so behind the guy up until he lost his briefcase. But if you give him the right character, don't give him scripted promos. Like, again, I said this probably last week too, or my SummerSlam review. If there's one person that is so obvious that scripted when he does his promos, it's Baron Corbin. Because when he cuts a promo, he looks fake as hell. Don't script him, and he's someone else I think that can recover from all the bad booking he's gotten. And he'll be a much better heel too. Although it would be nice for them to really explore bum-ass Corbin again because that's when he was probably the most interesting. But even he looked good in this match too. And Ricochet won clean. He won it with, I was hoping he would have done his 630. Instead he did like a shooting star press. But even that, he got a ton of height on that. The crowd was hot for Ricochet. And Ricochet gets the win and a very, very hot opener as well. It was awesome. And of course, afterwards, Ricochet and Pat McAfee were playing catch in the ring, and then McAfee even punted the ball into the crowd. Commentary was off the charts, too, as well. McAfee was on fire. Michael Cole actually sounded much more better than normal because, we don't have Vince McMahon in his damn ear anymore. So a hot start off the SmackDown. Backstage, we have Sami Zayn knocking at Roman Reigns' door. The Usos come out and greet Sami Zayn, a.k.a. the Honorary Uso. Sami asks how Wiseman is doing, because Paul Heyman is out after getting F5'd to the table by Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. Is informed that he's recovering well at home, and says he wanted to come to give Roman his regards. But the Uso said, "Oh no, that's not a good idea." But they'll text Sami when he's good to come and talk to the Tribal Chief. He's like, "Okay, that's fine." We then get a match with Shinsuke Nakamura and Ludwig Kaiser. Again, Marcel Barthel. You think it's a chance they may reunite Imperium? I don't know, because again, they've already repackaged Fabian Eichner, and he's now Giovanni Vinci in NXT now. So I guess not. At least please bring back Walter. Bring back his name. Get rid of Gunther and said to Walter. I'm going to pitch an idea also after I talk about this match. But we have Nakamura and Ludwig Kaiser. Nakamura is someone else that could also benefit from Triple H taking over. And it was a solid, hard-hitting match. Nakamura gets the win. Afterwards, he has this goofy stare down with Walter. I mean, it's with Gunther. I want to call him Walter. And we're going to have Walter versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the Intercontinental Championship next week. I mean, the match was solid. My only gripe about it is we've seen it happen how many times already. So, it's happened, I think, 3 times already in the past, month or so. But at least he beat someone else to earn a title shot instead of the actual champion. So that should be a pretty good match. Gunther versus Nakamura. Well, I love to still say Walter versus Nakamura. But unfortunately, he's still Gunther for the time being. But here's something I will like to pitch. So, I saw a tweet in recently, probably within the past week, of a certain someone, teasing something for NXT UK. Actually, let me see if I can find the tweet and pull it up. Where is the tweet? Look up this guy first. I want to see what exactly it says. It was a picture. Here's what it is. It's a picture of Pete Dunne posing with the former UK title and says Clash. Probably. which is interesting because I did see that this week on NXT UK, Ilya Dragunov did relinquish the UK title. Well, at first I didn't. That's not just thought of now. Like, what if they would put Pete Dunne, and well, first off, remove him from being Butch. Get stop making him this caged animal that just snaps on everyone and call him Butch, because dear God, that's just so dread awful. How could you take a star like Pete Dunne and have him up here one day and then all the way down here the next day? It's just so ridiculous. Well, somebody else, but he got fixed tonight. Oh, he got fixed. But I don't know if there's enough time. But what if you have Pete Dunne split from the Brawling Brutes and say, my name ain't Butch, I'm Pete Dunne. And he wants to prove himself by fighting the man who took away his glory, Walter, for the Intercontinental title at Clash of Champions. I'm sorry, Clash at the Castle. That'd be an excellent match. I'm still hoping they have us see Trent Seven and Tyler Bate at Clash also. I mean, I haven't really seen the promos and whatnot since I saw that Trent Seven had turned on Tyler Bate. I don't watch NXT UK anymore. But that would be a good addition for Clash of the Castle. Gunther, unless they want to change it back to Walter. Gunther versus Pete Dunne for the IC title? Give it to me. Like, we haven't seen it, of course, since Dunne lost the title and had the rematch where Imperium was formed. But hey, give it to me. Give it to me. Give it to me. Give me what I want. Pulling a Batista there. But that'd be an awesome match for sure. Just wanted to pitch that out there. Also, maybe it's time we bring up Jinny. Because again, isn't Jinny and Gunther together? And is she doing anything in NXT UK? Because she's been in there for a while. Yeah, she hasn't won the actual women's title, but bring her to SmackDown. I like. She was one of the stars I liked it from the women's division in the UK. Bring her up to SmackDown. That'd be awesome. That'd be an awesome addition for sure as well. So yeah, just had to get that out there. We then get footage of the Viking Raiders hurting Xavier Woods' leg last week, and Kofi Kingston's backstage. Now, he's all on his own, because Big E's out with his neck injury, still no idea when he'll ever be back, if he ever will be back. I'm hoping he'll be back, especially now with Triple H taking over. But Xavier Woods is now out now with that injury. He says how Woods is recovering in high spirits, and no matter how many times these nasty, disgusting, crusty-ass Vikings want to put them down, they'll always get back up, because every day is a new day. It's almost time for him to make the Vikings pay for what they did to Xavier last week, because a new day rocks and whatnot. So then we had Sami Zayn again knocking at Roman's door, and the Usos come out and they say, "We need a favor from you. We need you to go hang out in the production truck and do what Paul Heyman used to do in order to make sure everything went right." Sammy scoffs at it, but Jimmy tells him that it'll mean a lot to Roman if he goes off to do it, which of course he does, because Roman is supposed to be having a face-to-face confrontation with Drew McIntyre in the main event, hyping up the main event for Clash at the Castle, which still could be the case, may not be, who knows. Alright, let's talk about one of the lowest points of this show. So we have Liv Morgan coming out and making her entrance as the SmackDown Women's Champion. And of course we got a recap of the dusty finish to SummerSlam, which honestly may have been the best thing to do to protect both of them. The only thing is with how they followed up, this kind of showed that they may have been backed into a corner with Liv Morgan. So, Liv comes out again with her arm in a brace from Ronda's armbar. She says she feels so many different emotions, and she looks like she's about to cry. And the crowd is booing her and chanting, "You tapped out." And she says how she wants to address the elephant in the room, and she appreciates being called on her bullshit. She got bleeped out. But she says the title means everything to her, and she only tapped after she thought the referee got to 3. And I'm like, no! That's not what she should have said. So, this whole situation with Liv Morgan here. Again, the problem is yes, we love Liv. She can easily be a lovable babyface if booked right. The problem was of course, she got the belt while Vince was there. And she got the belt after she's lost most of her matches ever, basically. So, although the crowd loves her, did you really believe that Liv could beat Ronda Rousey? I mean, she did talk about how she was able to get out of her armbar 3 times. Yes, we get that. Made her look like strong. Looked like she could have hung with her. But Ronda just worked the arm enough that it was end up being too much for Liv. So, I think the problem was there was 2 people that I think that they were trying to avoid replicating her with. The first one was Nikki Ash. I don't think she's a Nikki Ash, because with Nikki Ash's booking as Raw Women's Champion, she lost all of her matches as champion. Like, okay, the story there was Liv had to prove, could she really beat Ronda at 100%? Because Ronda was not 100% when she cashed in on her at Money in the Bank. At least they didn't have her go on TV and lose to Ronda for the next, 4 weeks before SummerSlam, like they did with Nikki Ash. That's what made Nikki Ash look like a joke, of course. Well, Nikki Cross and whatnot. The other person that I was afraid they were going to make her look like, and they may have done it right here, was Bayley. 2018, 17, when Bayley won the Raw Women's Championship. And she basically needed help from Sasha to win. And Bayley tried to blow that over the heads like it was no big deal. It's like, you're a babyface, but yet basically had help to win. Like, why would we want to get behind you? And I hate to say it, but Liv didn't address that properly. I mean, yes, it was a way to protect them both. Yes, they did their best to make Liv look strong. But the fact of the matter is technically Ronda should have won the match because Liv did tap out. And instead of admitting, I still feel like I got something to prove as a champion, Ronda, get your ass out here. She says, this title means everything to me, coming across like a heel. And I'm sorry, but if Liv Morgan turned heel, it would not be a good look. Because Liv Morgan loses as much as she does, people would want to see her get her ass beat every single week, and that's not what needs to happen. So this was a low point to me. This is kind of like that they didn't address that right there. This leads to Sonya Deville coming out, and she says she's feeling so. Oh, I'm reading the wrong thing. She says some of these people will buy her innocent little Liv act, but we all know she shouldn't be champion. And it disgusts her, but seeing Ronda get hands on Morgan made her happy, but it's also a testament to how bad Adam Pearce sucks at his job. Of course, she's still holding a grudge against Adam Pearce for removing her as an official, because Sonya went too far with taking advantage of her power. Face-to-face, looking Liv in the eyes, she really, really loves seeing her hurt. So tonight she's going to win the gauntlet match and beat Liv at Clash at the Castle, breaking her heart by taking away the thing that means most to her, the SmackDown Women's title. But then we had this gauntlet match, and it was decent. But again, the problem I had with this gauntlet match was most of these women I couldn't see, challenging for the title right now. Like Aaliyah. Yes, I've always, thought Aaliyah was underrated and underappreciated in NXT, being the one who took the pins for the longest time. I like how they gave her somewhat of a direction when they turned her heel and put her with Vanessa Bourne, but then, of course, it was kind of back to the same old, and she's basically been a jobber on the main roster ever since, other than the fact that she beat Natalya in 3.16 seconds or 3.13 seconds, whatever the heck it was called. But Sonya eliminated her. Then out came Raquel Rodriguez, who was the dominating one. She did decent, but even I think Raquel needs work. But she then eliminated Sonya, Shotzi Blackheart, Xia Li, Natalya. All who, again, need work. Then out comes Shayna Baszler. And, of course, Raquel, has been in there long enough. Shayna was able to take advantage, wear her down, and win, which I'm like, ooh. That interests me. Because Shayna's someone I know that Triple H relies on a lot. So I'm thinking, and we're also, the thing is for the first time in WWE, we're going to see somewhat of like a run-in with Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. Because Ronda was only off TV this week as she was storyline-wise fined for attacking the referee at SummerSlam. So now we're going to be seeing Liv Morgan and Shayna Baszler at Clash at the Castle. Honestly, though, after the promo Liv cut, the thing was she was booed during the promo, but she was getting cheers during the gauntlet match. But quite frankly, though, here's what I think should happen. I think they've really backed themselves into a corner with Liv right now. I understand they were trying to avoid, having her turn out to be the next Nikki Cross or even the next Bayley from 2017 or whatnot. They kind of made her the new Bayley from 2017. Not completely, but it may be best to take the title off of Liv and just get her back to it a different way someday. And Shayna winning the title might be a good idea. Because, for real, if you book Shayna right, can you really see Liv beating Shayna right now? Honest opinion. Unless they have Ronda come back on as DQ. But I don't want another DQ. I don't want another DQ finish at pay-per-view. Screw that. I think it's best to maybe put the belt on Shayna. And then we may see something with Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if it was the one that would turn face or whatnot, whatever it is. I at first though thought Raquel won, because the way they did that pin, I'm like, okay, not this whole bull crap again of like pinning Shayna that way, because I swear most of Shayna's losses was pinned with like that roll-ups type thing while she's doing her submission. That's so stupid. But we're getting Shayna and Liv, so that will be interesting. We'll see where that goes. Then, of course, we have a third time Sami Zayn going to Roman's door, and the Usos answered. And Sami says he fixed the production truck, and Jimmy wants to be real with him. They said, you're not talking to Roman tonight. But Sami's like, but I'm the honorary Us. And Jay tells him that the rest of the Bloodline have been stepping up and winning titles. And if he doesn't pull his weight soon, they're going to make him take the t-shirt off. Which I keep hoping is leading to a Sami Zayn face turn. I listened to the Talk is Jericho podcast. I've been going back to a lot of like old episodes on Talk is Jericho recently, especially since I have a longer drive in between my fiance's house and whatnot. So I have like a 45-minute drive there. And I, of course, listened to probably my favorite episode still. Well, besides John Mox's episode of him explaining his story of him leaving WWE, that one with Jericho, Owens, and Zayn is still one of my personal favorites. But I keep thinking this is leading to a Sami Zayn face turn, which to me at first I'm like, what if this leads to Sami Zayn beating Roman Reigns for the world title, which would be amazing, keep in mind. But I'm hearing other rumors, and I'm for it. What if this leads to Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn getting back together, both turning face, and they're the ones to dethrone the Usos? Honestly, they should have made them tag champions back then when Sami first turned heel and they were giving Shane McMahon hell. They should have given them the tag titles back then. But that would be something different. Because here's the thing, and I'm going to get into this when we talk about Roman in the main event. with how they built up the bloodlines, this unstoppable force, even though the problem is again, they've had the Usos lose so many times in non-title matches. You're with a run that you've given the bloodline, you really got to have something different be the ones to take the titles off of them. You can't have, like, Ray and Dominic be the one to take titles off them. Heck, I'm even thinking maybe Drew McIntyre may not be the right one for them to take the titles off of Roman. We'll talk about that very shortly. But honestly, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn winning the tag titles off of them may be a good move. I really liked that idea when I heard it. And in fact, I think that might be the best way to go. I mean, yes, I would love to see Sami Zayn get a world title shot. I mean, it's going to take a while for them to get him back there. But turn him face again with Kevin Owens and Triple H writing their story. Ooh. I'm liking this. I'm really, really liking this. So we'll see where that goes. I'm hoping that's where it leads to. A Sami Zayn face turn. Of course, Kevin Owens face turn as well. Even though Kevin Owens being a face again would be weird. But having them be the ones to dethrone the Usos would be something. And they should win it. Owens and Zayn, with their long journey, they should be winning the tag titles together. It's very fitting for them. Like I said, I still think it should have happened when they were giving the Shane McMahon hell when Sammy first turned heel, but they didn't. But I can see it happening now. Then we have the Viking Raiders squashing two jobbers, but then Kofi came out with a kendo stick like a madman, and then had another match with Kofi and Eric. Don't know why they didn't just do Kofi and Eric or whatnot, but I guess they were just trying to give... I don't know. This was another kind of like... This felt like filler. Although I like how Kofi kind of came out, with, the, more serious attitude with the kendo stick, meaning no business. I did like that, but... Come on, you really thought Kofi was going to survive against the Viking Raiders? I don't know. So that one was like a little bit of like a... I don't know. But, So, then was that match. Now, of course, we were then informed that commentary was advising that starting Monday, there will begin a tournament that will crown the new vacated WWE Women's Tag titles. Which I'm like, They didn't announce any teams, but I'm like, who really is there? Other than Doudrop and Nikki Ash. Just call them Nikki Cross and Piper Niven again, please. I mean, obviously right now, if they were put on anybody, they'd probably put them on Io Sky and Dakota Kai. I don't know if they're going to keep... maybe they have like Ronda and Shayna go after them maybe or something. I don't know. Because I know they had Shayna and Natalya, teaming up. I'm wondering, though, if this is what's going to bring back Sasha and Naomi. Maybe, I don't know. But I'm interested to see what teams they put together. I still think to this day, they shouldn't have given NXT women's tag titles as well. I think they should have floated in between, main roster and NXT with those women's tag titles, in my honest opinion. Of course, I still think also they should have given the titles to Raquel and Dakota when they faced Nia. Oh God, hopefully Triple H doesn't bring her back. I hope Triple H does not call Nia Jax. Please don't. But I thought that would have been great because now that Dakota's back, they still maybe could do it. I still someday want to see Dakota Kai get that big title victory over Shayna Baszler. I've been wanting to see that for the longest time. Ever since Shayna Baszler stomped on Dakota's arm in Shayna's first match. But yeah, I'm intrigued to see who they bring in. But I'm still not going to get my hopes up too high yet because they need a lot of depth to build them to get those women's tag titles taken seriously. I still again think that they should just unify the WWE and NXT women's tag titles. But I'm not sure what else you're going to get because the Iconics aren't coming back. They stepped away from wrestling. And Peyton Royce, Cassie Lee, her and Shawn Spears are just announced that they're expecting their first child. So we'll see where that goes. But now let's get to the moment we've all been waiting for to talk about. So, like I said in the introduction, up until this final segment, my opinion was C+ show, some good things, but it does need work. Because that promo by Liv, and even the stuff with like Kofi and the Viking Raiders was just like a little bit filler. Well, like the Kofi and the Viking felt like a little bit of filler. So I'm like, not as much storytelling in this episode as Raw was. But then this main event changed my mind big time. So we're going to have Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre come face to face as they're going to be facing off against each other at Clash at the Castle. So, of course, they come out without Paul Heyman. But of course, after soaking in the crowd reaction, one of the Usos was holding the mic. Roman puts out his hand and takes a microphone and asks Greenville to acknowledge him. You know the deal. They defend the titles, they win the big one, and then they brag about what they've accomplished when they come back to SmackDown. But they need to address a few things first. First, let's talk about Brock Lesnar. Roman respects the man, but he hates him too. Not for why you think, but it's because Brock tried to kill the wise man. They don't have their special counsel here and aren't sure when he's going to be back. And he wants to send prayers up to the wise man. But then immediately, Drew McIntyre just cuts him off and comes out. Which, I hate to say it, I kind of like how Drew came out without the sword. We'll talk about the sword in just a second. He came out and says he had to interrupt because otherwise, and he literally said this, the tribal queef would have talked until we went off the air. And he doesn't want to talk. He wants to fight. And he just ripped off the shirt, and the bloodline standing him like, you really want to try this? So I'm like, what's Drew thinking here? What's going to happen? Like, I thought it was going to be just like a brawl, or they're just going to have like a word of words and like maybe like up the stakes a bit. Like, I thought that's what's going to happen. But before we get to what happened, I had read a rumor earlier in the day that WWE was trying to, of course, obviously bring talent back, and apparently, of course, this wasn't the only one that he has in mind. But there was somebody they mentioned, I thought, maybe sometime soon, yeah, but I thought he was in MLW. But then, as soon as Drew yanks the shirt off, the music starts playing, and the screen goes black and white. Black and white. I'm like, what? Wait a minute. And you turn around, and they show, the wide, the Tron has like the bird, the smoke, the black and white, and there is somebody standing up on the ramp, and they didn't have a close-up. I'm like, there is no way in hell. And it was Karrion Kross, the same guy who was buried in his opening match on Raw, losing to Jeff Hardy as the stinking NXT champion, which completely killed NXT for me. That was when I felt like that's it. I have nothing to care about NXT anymore. That same Karrion Kross, who was released, I think it was December, November, somewhere in there, who was released, comes out of nowhere, bam, blindsides and beats the piss out of Drew McIntyre. And person standing up on the ramp was not Kross. Kross came from the crowd. Scarlett showed up as well. And he just destroyed him. Easily gave me like Karrion Kross versus Tommaso Ciampa at Takeover in Your House vibes. Like with how he squashed Ciampa. Gave me those vibes instantly. And he's not coming out with like the mask and like the suspenders. He came out, he's grown his hair out a little bit since he left. I saw in the photos, of course, as well on Instagram of his new look. With like the badass leather jacket and everything. And he takes out McIntyre. And the bloodline are in the ring like, what? What the hell? Again, I popped. I popped when Cross came out. But then Cross turns his attention to Roman. And Roman's like, you think you intimidate me? Scarlett then puts the hourglass, the return of the hourglass as well, on the apron, flips it over, and the sand starts to fall, and the show ends with Cross tapping his wrist going, tick-tock. Tick-tock. Karrion Kross is back, and he's on the main roster with Scarlett, and it looks like they're immediately targeting Roman. I said before when I talked about Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, with a reign the bloodline has been on, you may have to have someone different take them out to make it different. Because let's address an elephant in the room here. I love Drew McIntyre. I'm glad that he was been able to become a main eventer in WWE. I feel bad he got ripped off of his WrestleMania 36 moment, and then he had to lose to Bobby Lashley at WrestleMania 37, because it was kind of a coincidence where it's like, okay, it's kind of Bobby deserves a rub here because he hasn't really gotten a rub at WrestleMania at all in his career, and also since he came back in 2018. And then, of course, last year, he beat Baron Corbin, which was not really that special at all, unfortunately. But, to be 100% honest, since he's lost the title, he's kind of been like, okay, the top star who's just beating enhancement talent. Like, Jinder Mahal's, Baron Corbin's. Like, guys you know he can beat. I mean, if they kind of want to dig into the story, he's never beaten Roman. And Roman though, with one of the titles at least, I mean, it was a champion versus champion at Survivor Series 2020. Roman's already beaten Drew. And the sword, too. Like, I think what really hurt Drew's character, and I hate to say this because, again, I know the sword is named after his mother. That's why they call it Angela. But to me, it's like they kind of like made the sword into like a child's play toy. And like the fact that Drew has like swung the sword in front of talent, teasing that they were going to like, I don't know, he was actually going to take their heads off. It's like, that's not really believable. Like, you really think they're going to, in a PG environment, you really think he's going to take their heads off? So, I don't know if Drew really has, like, the story and the momentum by him right now to, win either both or just one of the titles from Roman. I mean, they're doing it in London. Obviously, Drew's from Scotland. So, giving him that moment where he dethrones the tribal chief, honestly, could be great. But you have Karrion Kross now, who has never faced Roman before. What if Karrion Kross takes out Drew and he dethrones Roman at Clash at the Castle? I mean, I even thought about the idea of, what if, Drew does win the titles, but then Kross then takes him out or whatnot. But I don't know, because then you also have, Austin Theory. I could see Austin maybe cashing in on Drew. But even though my thing about Austin Theory being Money in the Bank, they need to wait till at least WrestleMania, I think, to try to build up Theory, at least in my opinion. Give him a few wins over a few bigger stars first before having them cash in, because I don't want to see someone else fail to cash in, just have the briefcase wasted without a story being told, of course. But then also, I'm reading rumors now that apparently the idea is there is going to be another draft coming up soon, and it could be the end of the month or early September. So maybe like before or after Clash at the Castle. But the rumors are that Kross is supposed to be taking one of Roman's titles, and not both. So, but then again, it's like, you kind of want to see Roman and Cross now, too, because that's a fresher match. And Drew and Roman have had matches in the past before. I'm going to be honest and say I feel like they don't have as good of chemistry as I feel like as they should. But yeah, it's like, where are they going to go with this? But I love it. Like, instantly, you took Cross away, you released him. Probably he would not have come back if Vince wouldn't have left. But you did debut him with Scarlett. And now all's forgotten. Because, like I said, that loss that Cross had to Jeff Hardy instantly killed his momentum. And not just that, it killed any ounce of interest I had in NXT. Because I'm like, well, if you have your NXT champion, who is being built as like NXT's Brock Lesnar or NXT's Goldberg, like, why should I even care about anything else on that show? Like, it's one thing to have Cross lose in his main roster debut, but again, you had him lose as the NXT champion. You can't tell me Vince didn't do that on purpose. You can't tell me that. You can't tell me that was not him getting back at NXT because he wasn't running the show and they didn't outdo AEW on Tuesdays. You can't tell me that. You can't tell me that. But, yeah, that was an excellent ending. Amazing shock. Like I said, I had read a rumor earlier today that WWE was trying to bring back Karrion Kross. But I didn't think it was going to happen last night. Again, like I wanted something like that to happen on Raw this past week. But it happened on SmackDown instead. I'm cool with it. And with that being said, that's what caused me to give this show a B. Like I said, I thought Raw was a little bit better because I like the consistency and storytelling on Raw. But the best moment this week, no doubt about it, was definitely Karrion Kross coming back. That and coming back with Scarlett. Off the charts awesome. Fall and pray. TikTok, Roman Reigns. TikTok. And that's my review of SmackDown. Again, I gave the show a B. But let's check the live chat before we go off the air because I am hungry and I might go get some Popeyes maybe. I don't know. But let's see what we've got here in the live chat. I think we were here. Our new friend, Will and Rail Sport Raleigh says, glad Karrion Kross and Scarlett are back. Me too. Does this mean MJF might actually come too if Triple H is in charge? But the only thing is, because now I have the freedom to do whatever he wants. Again, it's possible. I do think there's a chance MJF could show up. I do think that there is a chance. Tyler, well, actually, first we have Wilbur Sport says, Pat is awesome. I agree. Wrestling News 365. Will Cross actually be the one to dethrone Roman Reigns for the WWE title? I think, again, he's at least taking one of those titles off Roman. But I think you have to do that match now. You have to do Karrion Kross versus Roman Reigns now. I really think so. Tyler gave the show a C+. Again, that was the original grade I was going to give until that segment, until Cross came back. Tyler says, Liv is nerdy and she gets booed. Please come back, Charlotte, and split the world and tag titles, as he keeps, of course, advising. We've got Dakota saying WWE is good again now. It's on the right track. It's still going to take time for it to get back on, get really good again. But yes, it's on the right track. And he thinks that Cody should beat Roman. He could, but I still want to see Roman and Rock at Mania. And again, that match does not need a title involved at all in it. Big Boy, Braun, and Bray Wyatt should come back WWE next, which could happen. Vince is stupid. Glad he called it quits. Yes. Fire Horseface, which is Ronda Rousey at him. Dakota thinks the titles will get split in the draft. Could, who knows? Like I said, I think if the titles aren't split by the draft, because again, USA and Fox do want, exclusive talent still. So of course the whole, now of course they're getting some people back. That's going to create depth. So now, like, okay, the brand split doesn't have to end right now. Let me see here. Put Roman on Raw and AJ on SmackDown. Like I said, well, I mean, I still would like to see both of them on the same show. I still think we should get a Roman and AJ Styles match. But as I keep saying, Tyler, I don't think AJ's going back to SmackDown ever. Because like I said, I think the reason why he's on Raw is he wants to be able to see his kids on weekends. Yeah, Johnny's coming back and bring the big gold belt back for Raw and keep Roman's belt. Well, maybe also not color code your titles also, too, is what I would say, too. But, I think I'm going to call it here, guys, because I do have three more Seinfeld reviews to do. I'm going to try to do my Harry Potter Let's Play as well. But first, I need a break. I've been going at this all day, so I think I'll take a quick breather here. But yes, great return to the Raw and SmackDown videos this week. I definitely enjoyed both shows. Again, I definitely thought Raw was a little bit better than SmackDown, but again, SmackDown had the best moment of the week with that Karrion Kross return. That was awesome. And he looked like a badass, too. So, yeah. So, with that being said, guys, that's going to do it for my SmackDown review. Again, I gave it a B. Excellent return and excellent audience as well for these reviews this week as well. Thank you guys so much. So, once again, guys, what were your thoughts on SmackDown this week? What are your guys' thoughts on Liv Morgan getting booed? Do you think WWE should take the title off of her? Because they backed, I think they should take the title off of her. Because they backed themselves to a core with this whole Liv situation. Do you think also, what do you guys think also of Karrion Kross's return as well? Make sure to leave your guys' thoughts down in the comment section below. And be sure as always to slap a like on the video. And subscribe for more content on my channel. And follow me on Twitter as well at DemandAirboy93. And until then, guys, I'm checking out. I'll catch you guys all later. Have a great rest of your evening, guys. Peace out, everybody. Yeah, no, I will surprise. There's no escape.